wind carrying that ball is something that I don't think in any other stadium, I don't think you'll be able to get that. It just so happened that it's been super windy that day, and you have to hit that ball at that exact time to get that gust of wind for it to work. But my question to you guys is that the goalkeeper's fault for being too far out, or is that just the phantom of what it is?
There's no way it's the keeper's fault, man. That's that is just a wild thing to have happened. Like, he cannot position himself any better, I think.
Part of me was mad at the keeper. Part of me was a little bit mad. I was like, okay, bro. Like, what hard? I don't know, man. Like, again, it's being very, very nitpicky, but part of me was a little bit of.
But the physics of it alone, it's like, how is a ball that's fairly heavy? How does it get affected by the wind that much? Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
AJ, if that happens to Brad Guzan, are you not upset?
No, man. I mean, that's the thing. No, see, this is the thing. This is the thing. It's like Guzan, like, I know he can't handle a shot from distance anyway, so it's like.
Wake up MLS Matchday 6 on the horizon. This is Matchday 6 predictions video. I am joined by the usual suspects. I have John Rivera, the Chicago Fire fan on the show. We have Erdan from We Are Austin TV and AJ from Atlanta United Fan TV here today, again, to predict how we think Matchday 6 is going to go based on some of our picks and predictions leading up to this point of the season and just how 2024 has panned out in general. So let's go ahead and pull the first matchup. We'll waste no time. We're going to jump into, I think, a really interesting matchup just because one of these teams had one of the most dramatic wins I think anybody will ever probably see in Major League Soccer. The Windy City really is the Windy City, bro. I honestly have no words for what happened with the botched, air ball from the keeper. Kellen Acosta will take it all day. Chicago was able to win in dramatic fashion, despite all the banter around Chicago and Montreal from the Matchday 5 predictions. New England lost to Cincinnati 2-1 on the road. So that one kind of, it was what it was. In my opinion, they got a consolation goal at the end. Cincinnati, even on the road, was able to kind of make that one work. So, John, talk to me, bro. First off, before we jump into it, just to get your take, because there were a lot of fans in French, bro. There were
I know
trashing John's take. It was wild.
Listen. At the end of the day, I didn't respond to anything because you know me, I run my mouth and then I just kind of hope and pray. So it winded up happening that this time it actually went my way. But I think one of the things that I kind of noticed within the game too is we kind of were growing into games. It seems like a little bit. It looked that way in this game rather than any of the other games in this season. Because at the beginning we've been doing well, and then we kind of fade away as the game goes on. So we did a good job kind of growing in it, staying with it. Managed to find a goal. Offside, no offside. I mean, I'm not here to question the referees, right? To be honest, I'm gonna be 100% honest here. Like, he was a little bit off, but also the pen should have probably not been called.
So was it a robbery?
I wouldn't really necessarily say it was a robbery. I don't know. There's contention to be said. So it was. We got lucky. Yesterday. We lucked our way into that game. I think the wind carrying that ball is something that I don't think in any other stadium, I don't think you'll be able to get that. It just so happened that it's been super windy that day, and you have to hit that ball at that exact time to get that gust of wind for it to work. But my question to you guys is that the goalkeeper's fault for being too far out, or is that just the phantom of what it is?
Yeah, no, there's no way it's the keeper's fault, man. That is just a wild thing to have happened. Like, he cannot position himself any better, I think.
Part of me was mad at the keeper. Part of me was a little bit mad. I was like, okay, bro. Like, what hard? I don't know, man. Like, again, it's being very, very nitpicky, but part of me was a little bit.
But this was my perspective on it. I was like, I don't really think when I saw it at the time, I was obviously freaking out, but I was like, I don't think this is necessarily the goalkeeper's fault. Like, he attempted to try to play the ball in the fact that the ball was coming in, and it wasn't because he was aiming it for the corner. It didn't really go to the corner. It kind of curved back in. So he was trying to anticipate it and like get it out, which I guess in that sense it makes sense. But the wind kind of lofted it up a little bit more, which that's why it went over. I don't know. Like, I think that he just mistimed it. Like, but it's something that you don't expect, But right. In terms of this game, go ahead.
The physics of it alone, it's like, how is a ball that's fairly heavy? How does it get affected by the wind that much? Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
AJ, if that happens to Brad Guzan, are you not upset?
Nah, man. I mean, that's the thing. No, see, this is the thing.
Salty, bro.
This is the thing. It's like Guzan, like I know he can't handle a shot from distance anyway. So it's like from past the halfway line, yeah, it's gone. Like
I'll say this about this game. I feel like New England hasn't had the best start of the season, and it's going to what I've been saying from the start was that I didn't feel like they were going to be very much of anything this season because I felt like that the recovery between the drama between Bruce Arena and the way that they ended that season. I know they dropped down to was it fourth or fifth, something like that. But they still had a little bit of a drop off. The team didn't look the same. I think we're seeing it now. It's just not a very positive team. Do I think we can get a result for sure? I think this win will give the boys a little bit more confidence. But I don't know if we do scrape a win, it's going to be like a 1-0 type of thing. I don't see us like dominating, if that makes sense. Although I feel like we can score goals, I don't feel like we've developed into that, yet.
Yeah, AJ, what do you think this game goes?
Yeah, it's gonna be just like how the wind blows in Chicago. Who's gonna know? But I think this is what's it's gonna be New England's first win of the season. Because sorry, bud, but it's just like it's rife for this. Like you guys got lucky. New England needs a win. They're at home. It's just set up for it, man.
They're gonna have that tea crate with the Chicago Fire badge on it. They're gonna throw it off the stands, bro. It's gonna be
I know, right? That's gonna be oh man, the first team to actually have the banter with the the tea party. Oh man,
I know, man. It's gonna be good. I'm inclined to somewhat agree with AJ, only because we talked about how NYCFC last week was overdue for a dub, especially with how the last game went, that crazy Evander goal to win it, and it happened, right? Like they got their first dub. I kind of feel it's got those vibes. Like New England's like they're only team in the East that has yet to win a game. It's got or register any points in the season. It's got like that overdue feeling, And where do you think this one nets out?
Oof. Honestly, man, that's not really my area to really comment on. I'm more of a West man.
Not gonna make a prediction
I'm more
for
of
the
a West.
East. Okay, all right, fair, bro. Doesn't want to damage.
Hey, he could have at least given us a draw. Man could have given us a point. Like,
he wanted.
If he's not too sure, he could have just said, "Hey, split even, honors even, get a point."
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure,
bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, see, I have Austin's back. You don't got ours. Like,
I'm not too sure on that one. Come back to me on it.
Yeah. We'll find out here shortly when we cover Orlando versus Austin. But I think collectively, we do have New England winning this one. It could be close. I think it's going to be maybe like a 1-0. I don't think this is a snooze fest of the week. I think it's the rivalry makes this one really interesting. I'm hoping that there are goals, but we'll see, man. John could again pull off the upset for 2 weeks in a row and be flying high. So
I feel like we could.
Yeah, definitely could. Look, before we move on, John, does Montreal finally get some credit?
Maybe a little bit.
Oh, okay, bro.
No. Let me stop trolling. No, they've had a fantastic start to the season. I feel like in comparison to what they've shown throughout the past couple seasons, and even after losing Georgie when they lost him in that season, they kind of dipped a little bit. But I feel like they're under this new manager, the way that they're playing well. That third goal that they had, the one with I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was a really nice link of play, and then Martinez kind of like backheeled it. That was a beautiful play. I give them props. They're a good team. So I'm interested to see what they do for the rest of the season. But
I am.
They might be legit.
They might be legit. And Chicago did get that dub, but I think this does say a lot to come back, even with how circumstances kind of played out. All right, New England winning that one from our perspective. Let's move on to the Red Bulls of New York taking on Miami at home. This one's interesting, right? New York coming off of a performance where I will say they were just outclassed 3-0 on the road to Columbus. And then you have Miami winning in somewhat controversial fashion, 3-1 on the road against DC United. If you were to go back to, I guess, this last matchup, which I don't even know how relevant it is, Messi did play in that game last season when Miami won 2-0. It came down to an 89th minute goal by Messi. He's probably missing for this game, I believe, just due to the fact that he's announced that he's withdrawn from Argentina due to injury. So I would expect that will not play him this week against RB. So, going up to New York, Messi lists. We've had takes on this show that have, specifically stated that Miami is, not the greatest without Messi. No Messi, no party, I believe were the exact words. So without Messi, right, what's the likelihood that the Red Bulls can walk away with the dub, considering how they started this season? We'll start with AJ this time.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the suspects are still there, though, and I think it can be a goal fest a little bit to a degree, maybe like a 2-2. but I don't see the Red Bulls kind of winning this one, really. I mean, it's still like, yeah, but it would be interesting if Messi played like Tata. You just get completely under fire from Argentina. It's like he's already under fire from Argentina anyway, just being him. But shit, yeah. So it's yeah, I think it could be a spicy goal fest, which I would prefer, but because Miami, they don't deserve these points. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be crazy if somehow Tata did play Messi. That'd be the biggest fuck you to Argentina ever in the world.
Right.
And also like I don't know, just the headlines it would create for MLS. I don't know. It's just an interesting time to be doing something like that. But let's just pretend for the sake of it that he's not going to play at all. I kind of agree. I think it's going to be a draw. I think Suarez left something to say about it. I think Campana got on the score sheet last game as well. So there's something there. I don't know at what point do they start playing together, or Campana just flat out taking over at some point because Suarez's knees are not what they used to be. Hernan, is there any other result outside of a draw that me and AJ suggested?
I know that Messi's not going to play. And I think the last couple of games for Miami, they starting to maybe get used to the life that could be without Messi. And you mentioned Campana scored, and you mentioned Suarez will probably have something to say about it. I think Suarez is gonna absolutely tear this league. I had my doubts at first. Do not get me wrong. I had my doubts about him, but I think Suarez can still be successful in an MLS match even without Messi. I mean, they just got to get the ball to him. He's gonna make one or two moves, and he still has such a killer strike. I think Suarez is going to definitely have something to say about it. And I think Miami does still have the tools available to them to beat a team like Red Bulls, even though they had a positive start to the MLS season.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I think it's like Miami could win this, right? They could find a way to get it done. It's just that like this is probably the best Red Bulls team we've seen, or the best start by the Red Bulls we've seen in a little while. It's been some time. And some of that's Forsberg, some of that is just them getting pieces back like Morgan.
But honestly, don't sleep on those Red Bulls also, man.
I'm telling you.
Don't sleep on them because they have their own style.
They've always had that style, though, to be honest. Like, they've always played that specific style, and I think it works for them. I mean, they haven't been as successful with it, but I feel like they have a couple pieces now this season that could probably bring them to be a little bit more successful. Although I do think Suarez has surprised me a lot, and not in the fact of not because I thought that he was going to be complete shit. It surprised me that he's able to hold up this much and play as much as he has this far along in his career. So I think that, he's drinking the fountain of youth. Maybe he found a little bit of some magic juice out there. But I think Miami might actually pull this one off. I think it might just be like a 2-1 type of thing. I could see that happening.
There is also one wrinkle too. It's the Red Bulls have always been Tata Martino's antidote, pretty much. Like that style of play, they like Tata cannot handle it through the possession that he wants to have, and it's that high press that just undoes him a lot of times. And I don't know if he's actually ever found the solution to that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm with AJ though on this one, boys. I have a draw. I think that I would love to see like a 2-2. I think Red Bulls are starting to find their finishing boots a little bit. And Miami's had them, I think, since the coming out party against Orlando. That 5-0 kind of propelled them into what we're seeing today. So I don't know if Suarez is going to get like another brace, but I do think that they're going to have goals for sure. So I'm hoping for a 2-2. How do you guys see it, Ednan, John?
That's fair. I'll take the draw. I'm fine with that.
Hell yeah.
Inter 3-2.
Ooh, 3-2 Miami.
Inter Miami 3-2. Luis Suarez brace. Campanas gets on the score sheet.
Damn, another brace from Luis Suarez. When we get to Atlanta, I definitely want to have that conversation about Golden Boot race. And I think the race is going to be Suarez versus Giacomakis, and that's going to be, as long as Almada's in this league, that's going to be a fantastic race to follow. I think that obviously that changes when we talk about Almada potentially leaving to Europe, but we'll get to that conversation shortly. All right, let's move on to Charlotte FC taking on the Columbus Crew at home. I like how AJ's already laughing.
No, because it's like, okay, I'll say this before you even start. Like, do we really even have to say much? Like, can we just say Columbus in a 3-0, like 3-0 right now, and then just call it good? Like,
we want to be that straightforward. We can. I was gonna say something to note, right, with this matchup is that last season they did split their meetings 1-1 respectively at home. Now, with that said, Cucho did not play either match, so you can take that what you will. But let me ask you this just before we move on: if Columbus remains off the score sheet in the first 45, if
I don't
they
think
do,
that's if
can
that's a
Charlotte
big if.
steal a point in this matchup?
No, fuck them. Like no.
It's happened twice already this season. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean,
Look, mate.
Go ahead, Anon. If
Go
you have a
ahead.
take, go for it.
No.
Go for it.
yeah. No, okay. It's this, man. It's like even if but they're gonna find a way in the second half. It's like Charlotte. Okay, I don't know if it's 3-0. Listen, I don't know if it's 3-0. I think they're at home. It's probably like still a like maybe 2-1, 3-1 Columbus win, but it's still like Charlotte. They don't look dire. I mean, like Dean Smith, however Cheyenne wants to say that he's trash or whatever, like he's still a quality coach. He's gonna find a way to at least stymie them, make it more difficult than necessary. But the class is gonna come through, and Columbus, unfortunately, is I think the class of this league at the moment. And
I think there's levels. It's hard to expect Charlotte to do what like a Minnesota did. Like I think Minnesota I think that was a surprise for a lot of us to see Minnesota get a draw at the end of that game. But they've shown it against other teams that they're looking good. They're not looking in the way that we saw when they didn't have a manager. So this Charlotte team, attacking wise is what I mean. I don't see anything much there, at least from what I've seen.
They've scored 3 goals so far. I would say, there's not much to hang your hat on from Charlotte's standpoint, but I go back to that Columbus point because even a depleted Houston kept them to a 1-1 by just keeping them off the score sheet the first 45. So there's like maybe a path there. Like I said, I agree with AJ. I think Charlotte and Dean Smith will do whatever it takes to just make this a game that's not about football at all. Make it difficult, make it physical. Don't let them get into a rhythm. But I expect the dynamic nature of Wilfred Nancy to take over and to find a way to make adjustments that allow his team to win this game. So I don't know if it's a blowout. It could be. It could easily be. But I expect Charlotte and their home crowd to have something to say to make it difficult.
That's fair.
Ernan, anything else?
I was just gonna say that Dean Smith he's not finished implementing what he's trying to do at Charlotte yet. So it's still gonna take time. I follow Top Bid 90. They do some really good coverage on Charlotte, and it seems like they're building culture. They're building something different than the past managers that they've had because they've gone to managers like not I guess normal for what an MLS team would. They got rid of Miguel Angel, then they got rid of Christian Latanzio. Now they're on Dean Smith, right? And this guy's definitely a long-term manager. We know where he's come from, what he's been through, right? Now he's at Charlotte, and like I said, what he wants to do is just not finished yet. And you play a team like Columbus. I think AJ said it, they're like class of this league, 100%. We know what they bring to the table. So you get a guy that's still not finished trying to implement the system that he wants to bring into Charlotte versus a guy that already has it figured out. They're a full, they're a freaking train, full steam ahead. Hopefully it's not a 3-0. It's probably not going to be a 3-0 because it is Charlotte at home. And one thing is that they defend that bank like crazy. And if they're going to get 60K, maybe 50K. I don't know, probably 40. I don't know, but looks like they always have a ton of people there. So definitely Columbus win, but Charlotte's going to make them have to work for it just because them being at home.
Yeah, I think it'll be difficult. We all know how hard it is to travel in MLS. It's the nature of the league. So it'll be difficult, but I think we all expect Columbus Crew to walk away with this one. So we'll leave that pick where it is. All right, let's move on to FC Cincinnati taking on New York City FC. FC Cincy, right, coming away with that. Again, it's against New England Revolution, right, who haven't won a game yet, but nonetheless a dub. And then you have NYC getting their first win of the season, 2-1 at home to Toronto, which was really interesting, right, because Toronto had yet to lose a game. Coming off of all that Lorenzo Insigne hype, Herdman has the boys moving, and NYC still pulled it out of that baseball stadium, right? So with that said, last season, Cincinnati, even with, again, I understand Brandon Vasquez is not there anymore, but with that said, they took all 3 of these meetings last year. They are very familiar with Cushing and New York City. I think this one at the TQL, I don't know, man. Keep in mind, too, this is the first full week of Cincy rest, right? They got eliminated by Monterrey in the Champions Cup. So now they have the first full week of rest, preparing for this match alone, no midweek matches. Full week of rest at home at a stadium as loud as the TQL. NYC hasn't really proven they could do much outside of that baseball stadium. I don't know how we can argue against Cincinnati winning this one. Anybody else have anything different?
No, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I don't have anything different. It's probably gonna be a 2-0 win for FC Cincy. It's hard to bet against this one.
It's hard to bet on New York as much as I feel like I'd like to see them do a little bit better. But I think with them, it's they don't really have much to really build on, and it seems like they're trying to, But it's difficult because I don't feel like they have any like players on that roster outside that their number 10 that really does much for them offensively. I can't even think of his name, but he seems like he's the only one that's productive and he's able to do stuff. And without him, if he doesn't produce, then it's difficult for them to really get anything going offensively. So yeah, I mean, they have that kind of shield playing at home with that stadium and how narrow it is and compact. But I feel like in these situations when they go away and they're playing in other stadiums that is not their own, it opens up the game for everyone else. So I think their style of play is just not dictated for that. And I could see them, maybe 2-1 if they can get a goal. But yeah, I don't disagree. I think Cincinnati takes this.
Yeah, I think Santi Rodriguez is a hell of a player, but he can't do it by himself, right? So needs more help, and he's a center mid. I mean, he's not a winger or a forward. Yeah, he's trying to distribute and create opportunities. So yeah, I think while he had a great game against Toronto, and that was despite New York City's red card, it's still just like I don't know how they walk in there and walk away with anything, not even a point. So, Ednon, anything different from your side before we move on?
No, honestly, just a bunch of the same.
Yeah,
Cincy easy dub.
Yeah, easy dub. I think we all collectively have Cincy taking home this one. This one should be a safe pick for us, I think. All right, let's move on. And this one's going to be a juicy one. Orlando taking on Austin FC. I think Orlando, man, talk about a team that's just down horrendously, man. I think if there was a time for Austin to take on, Orlando, right? A team that, again, I'll say it, I don't know how many times on this show, a team that many, not just even a few of us on this show picked to be an MLS Cup final at the end of the season, but many fans across the league. And you look at where they are now, right? I mean, if I pull the table up, absolutely the only reason they're not at rock bottom is because the Revolution have somehow been worse. That is the only reason, right? They have conceded more goals than I think anybody in the league. I think they're at 10 now.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I mean, it's at a point now. I mean, they're tied with the Revs. Sorry, they're the two worst teams goals against in the league. But, this is the time to take on Duncan McGuire, Lodero. After that move, it was completed. Bringing in Muriel, it didn't really make a difference against Atlanta. Now, flipping it over to Austin, right? Coming off a 2-2 draw against Philly, I watched the We Are Austin TV fan reactions, bro. I think bro, a lot of them were really spot on. To be honest, man, it's very difficult to sense how the fans are going to feel after a draw like this, a draw to a team who's coming off of a 6-0 slapping by Pachuca, who has yet to win this season.
Most honest fans in the league.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that too, bro. But I mean, just think about this. In the last time you guys played, this was Austin's best ever season, 2022. You guys drew to Orlando 2-2. That's the only game you guys have on record. Now, two very different versions of these teams. Hernan, you being part of this very honest and realistic fan base on the road, how do you see Austin stacking up against a very down bad Orlando City?
Well, they are down bad, right? Just as you say, it hasn't been the perfect start to the season as they would want it to be. And also, you forgot to mention that it's international break coming up, and they're not going to have some key players. Austin is also going to be without, 2 players, but I think the list for Orlando, Jose, if you don't mind bringing that up, I think that it goes from 5 to 7 players that Orlando is going to be without. Facundo Torres amongst those names. Duncan McGuire will be with the Olympic team. He is amongst those names. So you if you're an Austin fan and you hear those names will be out, you think that you're catching a bit of a break. Now, it is Orlando. I don't know if it'll be tough to play there. It all depends on what kind of atmosphere, but Austin goes to preseason there all the time. So they're going to be used to being in that kind of atmosphere, going to be used to being in that weather. It's not going to be any much different to them. Now, Austin is not coming into this game really on a positive note or with flying colors. They also have struggles coming into this game. They will be without Julio Cascante. He's going to be with Costa Rica for the Nations League match with versus Honduras. They also have a friendly scheduled in LA against Argentina. And then Dani Pereira, the magician, the young Venezuelan magician that Austin FC has, he's going to be with Venezuela for the friendlies in the USA. They play Italy in Miami, and then they play Guatemala in Houston. Wow. So you're going to be without 2 important names, but that just allows other players to really step up and make their name, like Brendan Heinzike, ex-DC player. He's going to have to step up in for Julio Cascante. He's going to partner up with Matt Hedges. Matt Hedges, who's been playing great football recently. And really, Dani Pereira, if he's not there, you still have a guy like Owen Wolf, who can do a bit of a job. Yes, he is young, but I have faith that Owen Wolf can hold it down while his partner, Dani Pereira, is out. So with all that being said, I see Austin coming through with another draw. or even a win, but I don't see Austin losing this match. And I know that's wild to say going into this, but I don't see Austin losing this match. I see them getting a somewhat of a result, either a draw or a win on the road. I don't know.
I agree. I agree with you, actually. I think, man, the biggest reason why is because Austin has proven that while they are not able to attack games outright, they make it still very difficult. Not granted, a majority of the matches so far this season have been at the Q2, but they still make it very difficult to score on them despite the number of shots they face every game. Like, you know, and really, I say difficult to score on, but really difficult to pull out the win. They have 3 draws, right? Just finding a way to get results over the line, take at least a point from some of these matches has been huge, considering that Orlando City have not been able to do that. They've just taken L's all along the way. So I agree with you. I think this could be a draw. Like, it's hard for me to pick Orlando City to win because even though this is Austin, I'm like, yeah, they're missing some key pieces. So is Orlando. Orlando hasn't even proven they can do it at full strength, much less without some of their key players. I don't know where Pareja tries to pick up the pieces midweek and come up with a way to attack Austin outright in a way that nets them goals. They felt lost at the Mercedes-Benz. I'll be honest, man. It didn't feel like they felt toothless. Like, in all honesty, it didn't feel like they were really going to do anything. So I could see like a 1-1, maybe a 2-2. Like maybe Orlando does like find a way to get on the score sheet, but I don't think they could stop goals. Right now they're leaking. They're already in the double digits, which is wild. AJ, you know Orlando pretty well. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I mean, it's Orlando's stadium is not exactly a fortress, probably an anti-fortress, probably. So in that, you know, Austin coming in, it's just like, yeah, they're just at home. It's all good. It's cozy. And I mean, but that's the thing. You guys have drawn your last 2 matches. Is it 3? I mean, I think it was at least the last 2, Austin, 2-2. It's hard to bet against another 2-2, to be honest. And but I think heart and mind says something different. I really want Austin to win here and just bury Orlando even further down. So
I love it, bro. The agenda.
Yeah, the agenda. And so 3-2, I'm thinking Austin.
John?
Yeah, 3-2. I mean, I'm going to shock you guys. I'm going to take Austin.
All right. There we go. Full Austin take. Look at that.
This is just from what I've seen. I think that Orlando needs to figure it out offensively. There's something's going on that they're just not. I don't know what it is. They're all over the place, and it's difficult to get anything going and gain momentum. I think, do they not play? Oh no, they got knocked out of the CCC, so they're not in there anymore. But still, like there's something missing with that roster. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I could see that this is where Austin gets their first win of the season. It'd be shocking for some, but I could see it happening.
Yeah,
I'm saying 1-0. I'm gonna keep it conservative 1-0.
I can too. I think the draw comes from like again, just maybe like they're overdue for some type of a I don't know, a result. I mean, just the way they've gotten dunked on in recent history. I think dunked on in comparison to the expectation of what everyone had this team doing in 2024. Yeah. So yeah, Orlando's got to figure it out. But Austin could find a way to snatch a point at least, or 3 points according to the rest of us. So let's go ahead and jump into AJ's team, Toronto, hosting Atlanta United. Toronto coming off of that L, right, on the road to New York City FC. Atlanta winning at home at the Mercedes-Benz to Orlando, who we just talked about, 2-0. Both of these 2023 meetings ended in a draw, which I think is something very interesting to note here, right? Because Toronto was pretty bad last season. I will equally say Atlanta, for like the first 60 to 70% of the season, was pretty leaky. And so, you know, and the road record really wasn't in your favor at all. Different team this season, I think, just based on early showings for both sides here. This is a team that has a different type of work rate under Herdman. So, AJ, from your perspective, I mean, you only had one road match up to this point, right? You've lost it, but again, you've only had what were we 3-4 games in?
Mm-hmm.
Is there? How do you guys combat Toronto on the road this time?
Well, okay, so lots of little storylines in here, I think, because Atlanta on the road in Toronto, never really a good thing. We have not won, but it's also, yeah. Our only road game this year was against Columbus, against the reigning champs, and that second half a lot more encouraging. At home, we've just been destroying teams. That's great, but we are out 7 players, 7 starters this match, and Toronto looks fairly full strength. And I think it's going to be hella difficult. We don't have our left back. We don't have our starting striker. We don't have both center backs because one just went down with a meniscus. Not a tear, hopefully. Who knows? But we're playing the kids, the backups, the the fucking youth kids from the U16s probably, because like we do not have a full team. I don't even know.
I will say this, AJ. I will say this. I still think there's a matchup here to be exploited from your side, and that is Giacomakis versus whatever backup keeper exists in Toronto. Sean Johnson's out. So Sean Johnson's out. That's another thing. But still, scoring power from a number of other players, maybe even outside of that. Richie Larea is also missing for this one. So they have two, I would say, decently key starters, right? Especially Sean Johnson. Richie Larea is good too. I don't want to discount him at all. But there's still something on Toronto's side as well of this matchup that has to be discussed a little bit. I think I feel like it goes the route of 2023. Both matches ended in a draw. I feel like Atlanta, not the best in Toronto. I think it's hard to travel to Canada for most MLS teams here based domestically in the States. So I don't know. I feel like this could be like a 1-1, a 1-1 or a 2-2. Like there'll be goals, like I said, the absence of a starting keeper always, in my opinion, tends to impact matches. John, how do you guys feel?
I was going to say, I agree with what you just said. I think it being 1-1, just because again, those losses that Atlanta's coming into this game with, they're massive. It's not like they're players that 1-2 rotational players out 7 players, like and a lot of them are your starters. So it's difficult to go into a game against a Toronto side that I feel like need to be given a little bit of credit, because I feel like they've been playing well, and especially if they have the majority of their players, barring their goalkeeper, I think that they'll still be able to get some sort of result on it. And I feel like a 1-1 is it's not that I'm playing it safe, but I think that would be the most respectable thing, I think, for both of these teams.
Same.
I'm not ready to pick Toronto over Atlanta because they've had a good start to the season this year. They have played some quality teams, right? But I think Atlanta has it figured out a bit more. They have a goal scorer that's informed. Giacomakis is scary to play versus. So I'm not ready to pick a team like Toronto, who's been really bad in recent history. And I think ATL has this one on lock.
Interesting. I like that pick. I will say this too. I kind of agree with what Edna just said about Toronto and not being convincing just yet, mainly because it's not like any of these goals that they've scored, which have been pretty few, and even in the wins that they have, that it's a good amount of 1-0s. Or 2-1s, right? Just 1 goal differences. It feels like it's more individual brilliance from playmakers that honestly should have been doing this last year when they were brought in, and Insigne and Bernadeschi and those guys, right? I feel like Atlanta could have something to say. You guys have played more solid team ball to kick off 2024. But I also think it's just difficult to go to Canada, to Vancouver, to Toronto, to Montreal, and get like the result on the road. It's already hard enough on the road in MLS.
Exactly.
I think a draw is appropriate for me. Same thing for John. Sounds like. How do you guys feel? Or ATL for Ednon and.
So I don't know.
Back your team, bro.
Dude, I can't. If there's 6 starters out, and basically 3 of the 4 back line is not going to be the starters. So. Yeah, I think it's 0-0 at best for Atlanta, and it's gonna be a drag. But if I'm being real, it's probably 1-0 Toronto.
Hey, look, I respect AJ for actually being honest with his team, not like me. It's just says shit to say shit because he wants to support,
Yeah, he could have said there's no way we lose this game. Which, by the way, John did get that right. I will say he got it right. But man, by the skin of your fucking teeth, bro. Like holy, it was a crazy wild.
Sweating until the last minute.
Bro, he was already sharing. He was already sharing like pictures of the kid that he was gonna buy.
Yeah, I was gonna buy.
Like, he was already locked in.
It was 3-1. That's what it was. It was 3-1. And I was like, I guess it's time to just go look. and then I was like 3-3. Hold on.
It panned out, bro. The football gods were they took mercy on you this past week. I like it, bro. I like it. All right. Well, collectively we have a draw, but who knows? Who knows, AJ? Atlanta might do it. They might do it. All right, let's move on to another Canadian team. Vancouver hosting Real Salt Lake. Vancouver coming off of the 3-1 road win against Dallas. I'll talk about that in your sec. That one was nothing short of embarrassing from my perspective. Salt Lake lost, interestingly enough, 2-1 at home, which stuck out to me. I know it was like battle of, what do you call it? Battle of the Mountains, Battle of the Rockies. I don't know if that's a thing. But I think that, and this is back on the 9th for anybody who's clarifying, right? RSL had a bye last week. So this is back on the 9th, but still, right? Just an interesting L that they took coming into this game. Vancouver, if we want to talk about just their chances at home, which I like them, I think it's hard to travel to that part of just in general, Seattle included, but if you go past that to Vancouver, it's even more difficult in my opinion. But they walked into Dallas. Keep in mind, this is an undefeated Vancouver Whitecaps team. coming off of having to deal with Champions Cup matches, just like other teams have so far, and still performing in MLS, right? Going into Dallas, and I will say this: Dallas having all the possession and having a 20-minute spell where they just forgot how to play. And that's how the goals leaked. It was 3 goals in the span of 20 minutes. Outside of that, we controlled the game, and it was annoying to see that's how it panned out. But from Vancouver's perspective, I got to give them a little bit of credit. They're probably one of the more efficient teams in MLS. That's what I will say about this. This Sartini 3-4-3 formation that they run over there. It's like they know exactly what they want to do. Gald's at the heart of it. But they don't mind giving up all the possession in the world and just hitting you over and over on the break with their speed and just balls over the top. Like it worked pretty well. There's a lot of crosses that come in, and against Dallas, they were able to find it. But again, right, the whole like Dallas also missing 7 players, playing with backup defenders. I'm not going to make any of those excuses. It is what it is. But from Vancouver's perspective, I'm not going to discount them. I think that they're still starting 2024 as a solid team. So with how erratic the Real Salt Lake have started, now that this one's on the road, having to go to Canada, can we even bank on them? Like some games they're relevant, some games they're not. I have no idea what to expect from this team.
Look, maybe my take is not going to sound as elegant as yours, bro. I know you know a bit more about the league than I do, but I don't want anybody to doubt Real Salt Lake, even about going up to Canada when they beat LAFC in a freaking snow match. Okay, don't tell me about Canada. Don't tell me about any kind of weather.
That's their backyard.
They were able to do it in thick snow. They could go anywhere and do it, bro. I got RSL.
Oh, okay. That's a hot take. I think
I got RSL.
Going to the Whitecaps is difficult, but I like it, bro. I respect the take. I think Luna didn't and Arango didn't do what they wanted to do against the Rapids back on the 9th, but I think that they'll be with 2 weeks of rest. I think they'll be up for this one. John, you haven't been as favorable when talking about Real Salt Lake up to this point.
No,
I think they're going to do it.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think what I said, I don't think I would say that. I would
rewind the clips back when we
roll it back. I'm gonna say this. I was critical of their strikers against the teams that they were going up against because I was more or less not really saying that they weren't able to do it, but just expecting for their attackers to step up a little bit more. I think this is a game where they will, though. Vancouver Vancouver. I feel like I haven't seen enough from them to give my actual perspective of what they're going to be this season. Because they're very like up and down. I don't know. It's
very up and down. I can tell you exactly. So the last 5 games, they've drawn to Tigres 1-1, which is interesting. Yeah. But then they got smacked by Tigres 3-0, the exact opposite. They tie Charlotte FC 1-1. They beat San Jose, which every team so far has. And then they go to Dallas and get the result against a banged up Dallas. So I agree. It is still somewhat difficult to gauge how good this Vancouver team could be.
Yeah. So I feel like RSL with 2 weeks rest for their attackers, another 2 weeks to figure it out. I feel like I want to lean towards the draw, but I feel like Salt Lake can pull out the win, like 2-0.
2-0. All right.
Yeah, I think Diego Luna gets one at least.
Diego Luna masterclass incoming. All right, AJ, what do you think, bro?
Fascinating. I mean, yeah, it's they come off a little bit like the Whitecaps a little bit as the paper Tigers because they're second in the West right now. It's like how really, but it's one of those things too, though. The way they're playing, especially at home, that's how you kind of unsettle the away side because. Yeah, they're looking coming in like, oh well, what do we do? Are we like just possessing the ball, and what are we gonna do with the ball? Like, and RSL, I don't think are that type of side that can really impose themselves. I think it's probably a 2-1 Vancouver win though, because yet it's still at home, and MLS is gonna MLS. Large in part, the percentages play more for the home team.
That's fair.
Yeah. I'm honestly, bro, I'm right there with AJ. I think it's like it's so hard to go on the road and win. But on top of that, it's like first off, who had Minnesota and Vancouver being the top 2 teams in the West at this point in the season? I don't think anybody did. Like this is insane. I mean LA Galaxy being 4th, right? Colorado being in 7th. Like all of these teams that were down bad last season. Vancouver's not one of those teams. You got to remember, right? They were a 6th seed playoff team in the West, so. Still got smacked around a little bit by LAFC in the playoffs, but it's still a playoff team. Right?
But yeah, to piggyback off your point of talking about we don't expect they're not the teams in the West that you could say like they give you they're not appealing, they're not very like flashy. They're 2 teams that are been like I'm saying this more in Minnesota's case than really Vancouver's, because like I said, I feel like Vancouver's been really inconsistent with how they've been with their results and how they're playing. But in terms of like Minnesota, like like that, they've just been playing good football. Like they've just been playing good football, so it's difficult to knock that. But again, like I said, I can see where you guys are coming from, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like Vancouver still needs to show a little bit more for me to consider them a little like on that next level of that consistency just needs to be there a little bit more, at least for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair take. Fair take. We'll see what happens. I think, in all honesty, we'll just call this one split. I know normally we had to have somebody flip and whatnot. Ednon seemed pretty bullish on his take, and I don't want to force John or AJ to flip. I'm not flipping mine. I do think Vancouver is going to take this. So we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. We're kind of 2-2 on this one. I think we just leave it there. All right. So let's move on into Sporting Kansas City taking on the LA Galaxy. SKC won at home against San Jose, who hasn't done that this season. And then you have LA Galaxy in the match of the week, drawing 3-3 at home to St. Louis City. And that's the way that game ended, man, that every aspect of it, it's what you want MLS to be week in and week out. I will take more of those games all day, every day. These two teams drew both of their meetings in 2023. Okay, 2-2 and a 0-0. Quite a few injuries on the KC side. I will say from LAG's perspective, Caceres, after that red card he took, which was kind of crazy, he kind of just destroyed the forward on that last man tackle. So he'll be out for this game. But SKC has yet to be scored on more than once in any game this season at home. Even with how rampant the Galaxy are, can they steal not just 1 but maybe even 3 points?
I think with the recent results that both teams have had, I can't see anything more than a draw. I mean, it's probably a 1-1. I mean, it's just I think it's a great point that the SKC very stout defensively, but LA Galaxy, I think they're going to find a goal, and SKC at home, still going to as well. So I think it's tough to break any sort of or find any sort of difference between the two. I think.
Yeah. Is Jovic in the running for Golden Boot? Do you think by the end of the year?
Potentially, I think he could, but I feel like that'll depend a lot on how Paintsel does assist wise, and how much what's his name Ricky can actually provide, because he does a lot. He does a lot for them. I feel like he's one of their, in that midfield, sort of he is what they need. And like I said, if we see more production from Fagundes, I feel like that'll also give it something else, because I feel like Fagundes is, not that he's a bad player, but there's something there that's missing in that Galaxy team. It doesn't seem like it's really clicking. I like Gabby Peck a little bit more, but it's hard to justify starting Peck over Fagundes. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like LA will end up getting this win, just based on the fact that I feel like they've just been more offensively better than Kansas has. And also, I'd like to point out, I called the Pulido goal last week.
You did call it, right. Yeah, you did call it. 100%. Ednon, your boy Fagundes has been getting at least 60 minutes every game so far. I kind of agree with John that there's some lackluster showings, but maybe he's still trying to find a way to impose himself in some of these games where you now have several other playmakers around him. Maybe he's just not standing out. I mean, how do you feel about how he's played?
I mean, I think I'm with John on the point where he said that this LA Galaxy team still has something missing. I think Diego, he brings his qualities to a team where he's creative on that wing, right? But he's not that game changer. He's not that high TAM level player, that DP level player. But he's a guy that can come onto the field and obviously create chances. Create quality plays for maybe quote unquote better attackers than he is, or higher caliber players than he is. He's kind of like that MLS caliber player where you know that he's good. You know what he brings to the table. He's, like I said, he's not that hardcore game changer. Now, they're facing a tough SKC side. I know Diego's gonna obviously know this team pretty well. He spent times in the West already with LA. He's also spent time in the West with Austin FC, right? So he knows this SKC team well. But I feel like what SKC has going right now, I think they're a bit of a stronger team. They're also home, kind of like what AJ said earlier, based on what MLS is. The home team usually has a higher percentage of winning. So I think LA still has work to do. They've had some ties in the past to start this season. So Sporting Kansas City, I just feel like they're a bit more of the powerhouse coming into this match.
Erna, can I ask you a question quick? Just because I wanted, because I don't know Fagundes that well, but I've seen him operate a lot in the middle rather than the wing with this LA team. So I don't know if maybe it's a functionality thing where Fagundes is kind of trying to operate in the middle and create, or if he just needs to be out wide. But I don't know where strongly in historically wise, like where he fits better. Because I feel like even on the wing, he looks lost a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's just me the way that I'm looking at the game, but he looks a little bit lost. It's just because he's drifting in the middle and he's trying to create through the middle, but it just doesn't seem like something's missing there. So
for as much flack as Coach Wolf gets, I think one thing you can give him credit for was the way that he used Fagundes in 2022. He had him on that wing. Juicy occupied that center role where he created stuff behind that striker. And Diego, I think he had 15 assists. I think that's his career best, if I'm not mistaken. 15 assists in one season. So I think Fagundes might be more lethal on that wing. Of course, maybe that's where he likes his football, anyways. But I do agree with you whenever you say that in the middle. It might be a bit more of a challenge for him, So we'll see what happens. It might be too much to handle for him at the moment. He is a great player, though.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that it was more of a lack of properly, just the instructions wise on him. Just seems like they're trying to facilitate him through the middle, but he seems like he's just more comfortable out wide, and that's why I feel like when Peck comes on and he's more or less just told to stay on the wing, you can see that quality of him when he what happens on those two wings with him and Payne. So like it's very different. So that's why it's my question.
Yeah, it just shows how deep this Galaxy team is. We've talked about it a lot on the show, right? The fact that they've gone a completely different path to what the Galaxy is known to be historically. The superstar team, the evil empire, the Real Madrid of MLS. They're really not so much that profile this season. They've just put together what looks to be the right pieces, and it seems to be working. I have this one because of the fact that it's at Children's Mercy. Those fans get up for games like this. They just do. Midwest is built different. I feel like this is like a 2-2. I think this could be the first game that KC concedes more than one, but I think that they'll do enough to make sure that they at least get a point out of this at home. Like I don't think they lose at home. I just don't see it.
You're going to go.
Yeah. I think without Johnny Russell, bro, I think that it really has to be him and Shaloi. Johnny Russell's injured right now, so it's like I think that he has to be the one that gets up for this game against a team that you have to expect is going to score. Even when Galaxy have looked out of it, like against Nashville, they were down 2-0. They still, despite the missed penalty kick, scoring and creating chances even late in the stoppage time. So, yeah, I think that he's going to have to get on the score sheet. They really want to pull something out of this. I have 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Everybody on board to draw?
Yeah, it's a draw.
Right. Why not? I like it. Let's go. Moving on to St. Louis City taking on DC United. St. Louis, of course, talked about it earlier. Coming off of the 3-3 draw on the road to LAG after the 2-2 draw to Austin. So back-to-back road draws for St. Louis. DC, and it's somewhat of a controversial game at home, losing to Miami. And tacking on the Pedro Santos red card in the process, right? So they'll be missing their left wing back. Troy will not be able to have his left back in the game for this one. St. Louis has scored 5 goals in their last 2 games, despite the fact that 2 of the 3 have ended in draws. DC have just 1. They have a single goal to really kind of boot and compare themselves to St. Louis. St. Louis will be missing Lowen. That kind of is what it is. Their number 10 will not be there, but they've still shown that even in the last game they could score goals and keep up with a high-octane team in the Galaxy. Will St. Louis just, even if they do concede in this game, which could happen, will they simply be too much for DC United?
Yeah, I mean, City Park is too much of a fortress, I think, for a team like DC United to come to. And St. Louis is this, I think, anyway, is an easier one to predict. And yeah, DC gets slapped up. And it's probably 3-1.
What's the score? What's it? 3-1?
3-1.
3-1.
A consolation goal at the end. Yeah,
3-1's a little bit crazy. I feel like DC, you need to give them a little bit more credit. They've been playing well. I think they
had 2 off weeks, John. 2 off weeks in a row.
They did. But the thing is, I feel like this is a game where they bounce back. But I don't see them getting a win. More or less like a 2-2 draw. I feel like this is going to be very offensive. I feel like St. Louis, I know it is a fortress for them, but I feel like, if it's either going to be a 2-2 draw or a St. Louis win. But I don't discredit DC, and I don't think they'll get slapped up, like AJ said.
I think it's going to be like 2-1 or 3-1. I kind of agree with AJ. Hernan, do you have DC doing anything in this game to rival St. Louis?
Of course not. It's St. Louis. They're still playing good football. They came in to Austin and they fought us all the way to the very last minute. They got a very hard-fought point. You could say that the pressure was mounting by St. Louis and Austin wasn't inviting the pressure, yes. But, Austin played some really good defense and St. Louis still found a way. I think it was probably like one of the last kicks of the game. So they're going to be fighting to the very last minute. Now, DC United, I don't know if they can put up a defensive performance like Austin did. Let's say that they do. St. Louis is still going to find ways to get some goals in that game. I say 2-0, 2-1, 3-1.
Yeah, I think City,
St.
and
Louis
also
scores.
just the home factor, right? Like I think nothing about Audi Park even compares to, or Audi Field, whatever it's called in DC, even compares to this. I think St. Louis, that fan base is going to be rampant, and I think if they concede early, like if St. Louis get a goal early, it's going to be the longest day in the world for them. So we'll see how it all pans out. But I think 3-1, who knows? It may even be conservative. Like it may, like it just really depends on what version of DC United actually show up for this game. But who knows? John might be right with the conservative take. We'll see. Conservative takes from John sound weird on this show. That's all I'm going to say. It's a weird feeling. All right, let's move on to the Rapids hosting the Houston Dynamo. We don't have our resident Houston fan on this one, but I will collectively say that they did walk away right with that. That I would say decently impressive considering some of the pieces they're missing on the attacking front. A 1-0 win at home to the Timbers, who Timbers have proven, game in and game out, they can score goals. And then you have the Rapids drawing to Seattle on the road in Rapids fashion, right? Even when, the missed PK by Mihalovic, the Atencio red card from Seattle, it just felt like it wasn't going to be the Rapids day at all. Had to scrape it by the skin of their teeth in the 88th minute after they were just really piling on shots at that point. But prior to that 57th minute red card, it was all kind of Seattle. Seattle just couldn't convert, as is the story with the Sounders this season. So I don't know. I think, another note on the injury front, Bassi apparently is questionable. They're saying right now he's like day to day, and we'll find out if he's going to end up actually playing this game. I think he'll travel with the team, but we won't really know if he's going to play until he's out there. The Rapids are basically completely healthy, whereas Houston have a decent injury problem. They're missing like 3 or 4, I think 4 or 5 actually key starters. So with that said, both teams are still struggling to attack. Is this game Snooze Fest of the Week potential?
Possible, but I don't know. I think Colorado. I think they can edge it. I think it's a 1-0 win, and just by virtue they're just some feeling. I think playing Mile High and Houston, like this is not their type of climate. It's just not what they're used to, and Colorado I think can edge it.
John, what's up with your boy Georgie, bro? I don't know what's going on. Like some of the performances are just off. He's missing PKs.
I think he misses home. I think that's what it is. I think he misses home. I think
it's home Chicago.
yeah, it's from there. So I think he misses home. No, but to be completely honest, I don't know. I don't know if he has enough around him. I don't think he's going to be like, he has to have some sort of help. Like he's not really, doesn't really have it. Now, if he would have came over here, like he would have had some help, like
at least a little bit, right? At least a little bit, maybe.
We're looking better off offensively than Colorado, but it was, with him, we would look a lot better. But in fairness, I feel like he just doesn't have enough help. Like I don't know. I see this being a 0-0. Like it's just gonna be one of those boring games. Like you're not gonna get many highlights on MLS 360. Like you're gonna cut to the game, show a couple passes, and then cut to the next one. Like there's not gonna be much there. Like this is a very stale game for me. I think 0-0. I don't think a lot of Houston's missing a lot of their big players right now. So I know Achach is coming back. I don't think he'll be back for this game. So I think there's things that are missing with this roster still. So I'm just saying 0-0. I could see Houston getting one if that, but
maybe Ali continues his form from last week, right? He got on the score sheet finally, and I saw Houston fans all over the timeline praising that they finally had somebody step up and net that goal for them, which just shows you that he's inconsistent enough to maybe just not score, right? He got a goal against Portland, that's great, but going on the road's a different story. I have 0-0. This has strong Snooze Fest of the Week potential. Hernan, anything different? Do you see this, I don't know, a big win either side or Colorado pulling it out?
I don't know if it's going to be Snooze Fest. I think other ties coming up could be potential Snooze Fest. Colorado, a team that kind of is low-key the Nottingham Forest of MLS this season with all the talent that they acquired. It's not clicking yet, but I think it's fun watching Colorado for the first time in I don't know how long, because you're kind of just waiting for those players that they brought in to actually click. So it could be Snooze Fest, or it could be one of those matches like, hey, Colorado kind of figured it out against Houston. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually start to pull those pieces together.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see when that happens. I think they're still kind of like trying to figure it out. And like you said, I the Nottingham Forest comparison is really spot on, even despite their recent point deduction in the table. But I think yeah, man, I don't know. It's they're trying to make it work. It's not there yet. It's not there yet. And I can't believe it's going to just suddenly pop up against Houston. Houston's been pretty decently defensively. They just can't figure it out in attack. So for me, 0-0 draw. I kind of agree with John. I don't know how many highlights we're gonna have from this one.
Yeah,
we draw all the way around, or we have a winner in this one?
I'm still thinking it's Colorado, but I think the better question is, why did Jordy spurn Chicago?
We were interested. I don't know. I guess I don't really know what it was. To be honest, I don't know how much money we really had to offer. I know we had a couple DP slots, but I know at that point I think we signed Kuipers. So I don't really know. I know we have one more DP slot that we can fill. Hopefully in the summertime we get some sort of help. Maybe if
bro, he rates Chris Armas over Klopas, bro. Easily.
No, bro. No, but the funny thing is that Klopas is a player manager. You know, he's very much in like the boys believe in him in a way. Like the way that the boys get around him, and I see him with the players is a little bit different than I've seen with any of our other past managers. You can just kind of tell that the boys play for him. Yeah, and they respect him, so that's a good thing. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with Georgie. Hopefully, I wish him a successful career with Colorado. But again, if he always wants to come back home, hey, I'll take him right away.
Open invitation to the fire. Yeah. So we'll see how he receives that. But yeah, I think we're collectively like I don't think we can really pick a winner outside of AJ maybe for this one. And even if it pans out, I think if Colorado wins, it's going to be like a 1-0. Like I really don't think it's going to be anything crazy. So, all right, I think we're all on board for that one. Let's move into our final 3 matchups of the week. First off, we have LAFC hosting Nashville SC. LAFC losing to Minnesota last week on the road, 2-0. Very 50-50 game in terms of possession opportunities. Minnesota just frankly converted. That's really what it came down to. Whereas LAFC were somewhat wasteful. Nashville winning 2-1 at home to Charlotte FC. So take that with what you will, right? They did draw the one time they met in 2023. Different versions of both teams entirely. I will say, even 2023, Nashville was better defensively. Get this stat though. This is really interesting to me. LAFC have gone now 3 straight matches without scoring. So they're looking to break the duck, right? Hosting Nashville this week. Nashville to travel from the East Coast to the West Coast, at least in terms of time zone. So that will definitely factor in as well. Are they going to break the duck at home to Nashville? And if not, what happens? What happens to Cherundolo and what this team's trying to build if they cannot find a way to get all 3 points against Nashville at home?
I think it's still early yet. LAFC, they're going to score. It's not going to be like a whole month of not scoring. But, and if so, imagine. And well, if so, sorry to their wives too, then, because they're probably not getting some at home either. But, so I think it's this, though. It's Nashville's a very, very good defensive side. It's just going to be really difficult. But I feel like at home there's a higher chance, and they feel the pressure, and they have to score. They have to win.
Yeah, they do have to win. Ednan, I saw you shaking your head really quick. What makes you think? Do you think LAFC is just going to play run over him?
Did you really ask if it's time to ask questions about Steve Cherundolo?
I don't think I'm the only one asking questions. First and foremost,
nobody should be asking questions about Steve.
Okay, so first off, when you have a team as stacked as LAFC, when you have Bogusz, Tillman, and Bowanga up front, up front, those 4 pieces, and you have 0 goals in 3 games, I'm amazed you're not asking questions.
Look, okay, from whenever you look at it from that point of view, sure, 100%. But you also have to remember what kind of league LAFC takes part in. It's MLS, where there's absolutely no pressure. Now, if there's pressure, it's going to be coming in from the FO. I know JT is probably going to be asking Steve Cherundolo. He's not going to be asking him any questions after Nashville, but maybe some other game, sure, right? Nashville's a really good side, right? They've been one of the newer elite teams, maybe you could say, in MLS, if you want to put them in that category. But I don't think any question should be asked of Steve if they don't get a favorable result against Nashville. Now, there's still time to get it kicked on. It's way too early in the season. They just got some new additions, just like you said, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time, but I'm not worried for this team. They're going to get it on for sure.
I will say this. Questions will start to be asked if they end up losing that game in, I think it's 3 weeks' time. If they lose El Tráfico, questions will definitely start being asked.
That's
So
when
now,
that's
for
when the
me,
questions start to come. Yes.
For me, this is where I see this at. They need to start building momentum into that game. They got two,
Okay.
and in my opinion, because I just don't think that Nashville without Mukhtar has not looked very well. Apart from a couple games here, the one that the CCC one that they played against Miami, but apart from that game, Nashville hasn't looked well offensively at all. So I don't.
He's back now.
Yeah. But even then, like he played their last game, didn't he? Or was he still out last week?
No, he played. It wasn't the full 90, but he played.
Okay, so could you? He probably will be. I guess he probably will be back, but I don't think even that's going to be enough. I think if LAFC wants to build confidence into that, because they have this game and they got Colorado next, they need to get two. For me, they need to get 2 wins to come into that game with a little bit of confidence. Because right now, Galaxy kind of feel like they have a little bit of confidence. There's something going there. They're building something, and LAFC looks like they're kind of on a downward. But if they want to build momentum, they need to start now. And I feel like this will be the game where they do break that tally. They will score goals. I think it'll be a 2-1 for me. I think Nashville might get one, but I still think LAFC at home will end up getting a result, and I feel like they will end up winning this game.
I agree with the 2-1 simply because of AJ's point before. There's no way a team this good goes a full month without scoring. If they go a full month without scoring, that's a massive problem, like a massive problem for the business side of what you're building with LAFC, for the talent you have on the field. That's I know we can say maybe it's too early to ask questions considering what Trinidad's accomplished. But all I hear is, in the press conference is nothing but excuses from him, right, going out there defending his team. I just don't think you can make that many with how good his team is. There are teams and coaches, I would say there's managers working with significantly less and doing more. I just think that you have to compare and contrast within MLS, because there's definitely levels to it. There's a high end in terms of talented rosters, and there's very much a low end. And LAFC being on the high end, that upper echelon in terms of what they have available to them, 4 points in 4 matches is not good. So we'll kind of see how it all pans out for them. This is probably the lowest I've seen them start in quite some time. They're in 10th place right now in the West. So I expect them to win 2-1, but they kind of need it at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a 1-0 win for LAFC. Yep.
That's a good pick too.
It'll be tight. It'll be tight.
Mm-hmm. Ednan, same for you.
I'm gonna go with it could be a 2-2 draw, but I'm gonna go with the win for LAFC somehow.
Yeah, it'll be close. This was one that I think fans should pay attention to get a good sense of whether or not LAFC has the mental to kind of pick themselves up and get back to where we all know they can be. So collectively, we do have LAFC winning this one. So let's go ahead and move on to one of our final 2 matches. Portland hosting Philly. Portland coming off of that 1-0 road loss against Houston. Philly coming off of that 2-2 draw at the Q2 against Austin FC. This is a crazy stat. Since the infamous Jim Curtin press conference in the playoff loss to Cincinnati, the only positive result has been a 3-2 win over 6th place Costa Rican side, Dadrisa, whatever their name was, right? That's their only win. That is the only positive result, frankly. Outside of that, they've either gotten their asses whooped in the Champions Cup, or they've just been netting very piss poor results in MLS, considering what we know this team to be historically. So with that said, Philly's traveling to the West Coast for this one. If they lose, which is a very, very, very real chance that they lose to the Timbers, when is Curtin in the hot seat firmly? Like, is he already there? Do we have to wait a little bit?
Now?
I think he kind of is, but there are still Union empathizers out there, right?
If you empathize with this man after 10 years of basically nothing, no MLS Cups, just pure shields, disappointments in Champions League, not very. This is an old team, and this is what I've been saying. The message is old. It has gotten stale. There's a time where every single manager, and it happens to a lot of the big clubs, even outside of MLS, you can look at Arsenal's a good example of that. When you hold on to a manager and his philosophies and his ideas, and the message just keeps being the same thing, it gets to a point where the results need to matter for whatever they're trying to preach, for their players to actually take that and understand that. And I feel like everyone's just kind of muted him out, because you can't tell me that you, as a 90%, which is what he said, better off than most of the teams in this league, you couldn't beat a team like Austin, who were extremely down bad right now. No disrespect or not, but it's just the truth. They are, that would have been the game where you would have gotten up and you get a result and you build confidence off of. But they did it. It's hard for me to believe in this Philadelphia team and feel like Curtin deserves to be here, because he's proven time and time again that when it matters most, he's just not good enough. And I feel like they deserve a little bit better. And, maybe it's just me looking at this from a perspective of, it's not something that I would want for my club to sustain that level of mediocrity throughout 10 seasons or whatever. Like, that's just a bit much for me. So I feel like Portland will end up winning this game. And I feel like questions should already start being talked about who his next replacement is going to be, because he might end up being one of the first managers sacked.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Especially considering that, you still have Pareja down in Orlando trying to find a way to get his team back on track, right? I mean, there are some teams at the bottom of the East that are really struggling to kick off 2024. Philly is one of them. I thought even at one point, Austin first off had more possession in that game. They had better passing all the way around. I think there were maybe 4 or 5 shots, Ednon, away from Philly. So like even the number of chances they had, there wasn't some giant disparity there. Like Austin could have easily walked away with the win. And then we kind of asked ourselves this last week, is losing to Josh Wolf's men, who have, frankly speaking, right, they have one win and I don't know how many days now, how many matches have come and gone, and Austin only has one win to walk away with it, and Philly couldn't find a way after getting embarrassed by Pachuca to do it. It's just, if they lose this game, I don't know what happens. I don't know what more he can say. I don't know what excuse is going to come up, right? They're not like some injury-ridden team. Like they it's just they're not performing. Like, I don't know what else to say about Philly at this point.
I think to play counterpoint to John's kind of argument here is so Curtin, he's the most storied manager in Philly's history, right? And it's that whole Wenger, it's the whole Ferguson thing. At one point, the message does kind of go stale, but you look at, say, a manager of the likes of Diego Simeone with Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
It's like that hasn't gone stale. Okay, Curtin's not at that level, clearly.
I was gonna say there's levels, because those men have actually won championships.
Exactly, for sure. But it is where, like, Curtin, I think he's got a lot of sway in Philly. That's why he's stayed for that long, because who can actually go up to him and say, you're doing this wrong? Like, no, like this is not.
I think, yeah, he's like, he has so much trust with the FO now. It's just what they're used to. He's the face of the club from a leadership perspective. Like, it's almost like, it almost feels like he will leave when he wants to.
Yeah, but it's almost baffling that the fact that these guys actually think that he's actually gonna get him something, not with his roster. Either you do one of the two things, and which you guys tell me which one's easier. Is it easier to get rid of a manager or get rid of a full 11? Like,
well, that's the thing.
But you can upgrade it. They won't.
Exactly.
They won't.
Exactly. He hasn't been backed. That's the issue, is that there's not any sort of upgrades on the players that are aging out and not as good anymore. And what's the new blood?
They don't really have much. It's still relying on Bedoya, which to me it's surprising at this point in his career that he's so reliant on, because he's so old. Right. Like, man can barely move on the pitch. Just being honest.
He's a wily veteran, and it's great.
They need to switch it up. Yeah, they need to switch it up. They need new blood. Honestly, I think Pep said it best with in his time with City, and that's why he cycles players probably every 2 to 3 seasons. It's like the message does get old, and either I leave or we have to rotate players in and out, and that's what happens. And so if you don't have that, if what you're saying as a manager doesn't come across, you just stop believing in it. It's like, we're just gonna go out there and play, man. If we get the result, great. If not, it's like, whatever.
I just don't like the level of arrogance that you run around with, like talking about you're in a better position than 90% of the league.
I agree with that take. I fully agree with that take. I know you got to defend your players, but man, I think there's better.
There's a level of backing, and then this is like shooting the moon, bro.
Delusion. Yeah. Yeah, bro, you can say it. I think that's kind of just what it is at this point. But look, I think with this one, I personally don't even see an argument for Philly. Like, I think Portland, unlucky on the road against Houston. It's a road game. They had to go down south to Texas and potentially deal with some lightning storms here and there. Weird game, weird vibes. I think at home in the Pac Northwest against a down bad Philly team, I like Neville's men to get the job done in this one. Probably it could be a 2-0, but probably like maybe a 2-1.
I have 3-0.
Oh, damn, a little slap around.
All right. Yeah, it's a drubbing.
Yeah. Hernan, how you guys just came off this game, bro. I mean, do they stand a chance against Portland?
Honestly, I got Philly for this one.
What? All
What?
right.
Fascinating.
I got
That's fair.
I got Philly for this one. I think that 6-0 against Pachuca really was a bit of a wake up call for Jim Curtin, and he took full credit. I mean, sorry, not credit, but he took full blame for it. He's like, "Hey, this is on me. This is not who we are." He said that post match. So I think that that they didn't have a great performance against Austin, but they still got a point away from home, and MLS that's golden, right? So I know Portland. I don't know. Maybe you guys don't have a chance for Philly, but I think Philly's still Philly, and MLS they're still going to be able to get results here and there. I think Portland could be one of those.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think Portland is just one of those sides where I think this year, I know they had a little bit of a downturn last year, but I feel like this year they actually picked it up a bit, and they're looking a lot better. This is not the Portland team from last year that we saw. This is a new Portland team.
Yeah.
And offensively, they look a lot better.
They
It's
do.
just in my
They'll
opinion.
leak goals. They'll leak goals. But I think in the last 2 games at home, there's 6 goals scored and 3 conceded. So like
But
they'll
they can
get
put the
goals.
ball in the net. They can put the ball in
Exactly.
the net.
I think they'll
So.
find a way to get to get that done. Let me ask before we move on to the last match. Hernan, if you had to pick a manager moving forward, would you pick Wolf or Curtin?
Curtin, 100%. What kind of question is that? What kind of question is that, bro? Come
Jesus
on.
Christ.
What kind of question is that, bro?
I'm just
Okay,
asking, bro. I had to hear it.
Yo, that's coming from a Dallas fan. That's where the
That kind of hurts.
that's
The
that's why
Dallas
you
is
have
the
to
one
go.
asking the question.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, like, I had to hear it, bro. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if Wolf has any empathizers at this point down in Austin. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't.
Oh, he does.
I don't know.
He does.
He does. Okay, so I don't really know, and I wonder if they would still take Wolf after everything that you guys have been through collectively. But
They
I don't know.
will.
It's an interesting question. I think many were calling last weekend to be El Sakiko. I don't see it that way. It ended as a draw.
I did. I called it. If Jim Curtin, like whoever lost that game, was gonna get their head out, like, so they just decided to postpone it a little bit longer. But I mean, I guess fair. Do whatever you want, like.
I think, like I said, we collectively probably have Portland, but I like the spicy take of Hernan. I think if it comes true, Hernan's looking really good. That's some crystal ball knowledge if it really pans out for Philadelphia. So we'll see what happens. Final game of the week, probably in my opinion. I mentioned some strong snooze fest potential. This reeks of it. This is like, oh my God, I may forget that this game is on the calendar. San Jose hosting Seattle. San Jose coming off of the L to Sporting Kansas City, losing 2-1. Seattle drew at home 1-1 after that red card to the Rapids. Seattle, interestingly enough, even in their second place 2023 season, regular season wise, they lost both games to this team, to the Quakes. Quakes are missing guys like Cade Cowell now, sure, but still, like, it didn't matter. Home and away, they lost both matchups to the Quakes. This might be the version of Seattle that you want to play if you're San Jose, considering how many pieces they're actually missing. I think they're Atencio suspended. They're still missing Joao Paulo, still missing De La Vega, Arriaga, and Stephen Fry are all still injured. So missing some key pieces, losing another one to a red card, still have not. I think Seattle the only team left. I don't know if it's the Western Conference or collectively across MLS. I think it's just the West that has yet to score from open play. The only goals they have are penalty kicks. So with that said, right, I don't know, is this one just like a straight up 0-0, 1-1?
I'm gonna answer this with one simple thing. I'm gonna lay back my chair. I'm gonna go to sleep. We are not watching this game because it's gonna be a 0-0 boring draw. Yeah. And I don't see any offense being played between any of these teams. These have got to be. Sorry to Shayan, but it's got to be 2 of the most boring teams right now in the league to watch offensively. It's been hard for me to watch San Jose do much, and Seattle for the fact that they're just missing a lot of players. And San Jose doesn't really create much anyway to begin with. So for me, this is a snooze fest. This is my snooze fest of the week. It's just one of those games where I don't expect much action to happen. If you guys missed it, I'm sure you won't be missing much of anything. If you do, there'll be a little bit of surprise coming from me. But honestly, like, this is just one of those games where it is what it is. It's not a game that I'm really keen on watching, or that I'm going to tune into for sure. So
these are 2 of the only only 3 teams across the entire Western Conference who have yet to register a win. The only other one is Austin FC. So I think when you think about that, right, and Austin, with that said, I mean, with 3 draws, I mean, so they're still getting points. Like these 2 teams really haven't registered anywhere close to the amount of chances that would make you feel confident they're going to be goals in this one. Like I really don't know where they're going to come from. AJ, do you have anything outside of a 0-0 or a 1-1?
No, I actually think because both of these teams are just so drab. I mean, just take shots. Just at
shoot
this
it.
point, yeah, just wherever you are, close to goal, take the shot because what do you have to lose at this point? And you might get goal of the week. So if you're one of the players on the team, I actually have this. I probably have this like as a 2-2 draw. So
Wow.
some goals.
That would be a massive overperformance by both teams, to be honest.
Yep.
I think even with Espinoza playing, I guess he's probably the only one they can hang your hat on from the Quakes' perspective, but he's still taking shots from like 25 yards, 30 yards out because he can't find a way to find a Bobasi in the box, right? So I don't know. Hernan, do you like I know we had AJ talking about a high scoring draw potentially. Do you have a winner in this one?
I see a snooze fest in this one, bro. Snooze fest. Seattle, I mean, they had like what 20, 30 shots on us, yes, but only like 2 or 3 of those were actually on target. So thinking back to that match, I mean, it really has been the trend for Seattle this season to start off for them. And San Jose, to me, they're one of the most like non-interesting teams in this league. I mean, they could play 10 games. I could probably not even know what the final score of 2 of them are, honestly. So to me, this is my snooze fest. I see a 1-1, sure, 2-2, why not? But I don't see a winner in this one. Respectfully.
Respectfully, yeah. After you kind of shit on him, respectfully, I think.
Yeah.
I think I was the only person on this show defending San Jose, just because, like, I felt like, they made playoffs. Maybe they'll progress a little bit from last season, but bro, they just not only are their kits horrendous, like their play has just not been fun to watch. Like Dallas didn't even play that well when we played against San Jose. They got that one lucky goal in the first 5 minutes, and then like after that, it was like I'm telling you, just shots from distance. They almost had no way of breaking defenses down. It's like, what do you guys practice? What do you guys train? What do you work on tactics wise? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Espinoza FC.
Yeah, bro, for real. Like that dude probably needs to move
FC.
on at some point. He probably needs to find somewhere he
Come
can
to
live.
Austin. Come to Austin. FC. Come to
Hey,
Austin.
don't take anyone
Both
in
of you
Austin. Hey, you guys
Making
watch
the cry
Shaqiri
come?
down there?
Yeah.
No. Serious question. You guys watch Shaqiri down there? Like, dude, we'll give him to you.
You want
for
Shaqiri
a bag
down
of chips, bro. Like we'll give it to you for a bag of chips, dude. I promise you, he won't get you goals, but he'll be hella entertaining to watch. Walk around that pitch.
I'll tell you what, John. I will trade you Rigoni for Shaqiri any day of the week.
That's the most mid trade of all fucking time.
Listen.
Neither team gets better. It's the only trade where neither team gets better. That's fucking
no.
crazy.
You know
Isn't
why?
that
You know why the Fire would get better? Is because Guti would slide back into that middle position where he's better at. So for me, as in a collective unit, and whenever Shaqiri doesn't play for us, we play better. So
Whenever
you get him on the
Rigoni doesn't
team.
play for us, we play better.
How much does Rigoni make?
It's like the most mid trade.
Right. How much
Rigoni
does
is a DP
That's a
player?
DP?
He's on like 2 mil.
2 mil? How much does Shaqiri make?
Shit.
Probably what, like 5 mil, 8 mil?
I think he's the
Something like
second
that.
highest paid DP in the league. Like,
Yeah.
he's
So
maybe
it's
maybe different now with the Barcelona.
Right, exactly. So it's a win for Chicago Fire. I mean, that's just.
I guess on the books, 100%. I agree with you. I'm just
Exactly.
saying, like on the field with what they can offer, it's it'll cancel itself out. Is in my opinion. I mean, like it'll feel like a new signing for like the first few weeks for both teams. Afterward, like man, fuck this guy, bro. I don't know. I think that's just how I see it. But this one, guys, like I said, I could be wrong. If AJ's right about this one, I'll be happy because it means I'll have something to tune into. But the last few Sounders games, bro, they've been rough, and I don't even watch the Quakes to be honest. I tune in when I might prepare for this show, but outside of that, like it's very, very difficult. So we'll see. I think collectively on the show, we have a draw for San Jose versus Seattle. That wraps up our matchups. I think what I want to do real quick before we head out is pick, as we usually do, our snooze fest of the week, which I think we just nailed it. I don't think we have to say anything more. I think it's going to be San Jose versus Seattle. I thought maybe Colorado versus Houston had some vibes to it, but this one I think blows it out of the water, right? I think collectively across the board, snooze fest of the week. This one right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For me, for sure.
Believe, guys.
I'm telling you, AJ, bro. We're getting to like the 80th minute. And like I told you so, bro. I told you it's gonna be 0-0. We'll see. And then game of the week. I know everybody kind of has their contender. Me personally, I'll throw mine out there first. I think it's gonna be Red Bulls in Miami. And I think Red Bulls are just gonna turn some heads with this one. I know it's messy-less Miami, but the Barca boys will still be there. They'll still be playing. Suarez will still be a handful. But I think Red Bulls will instill a lot of faith with the fan base at Red Bull Arena for this one. Do you guys have anything different for the match of the week?
I mean, that's a really great show. Trying to think.
Match of the week. Let me see.
Yeah.
There's some really good matchups. I mean, LA Sporting Kansas City, LAFC Nashville, Austin Orlando. But
is it? Is it?
Yeah, honestly,
For you, it is.
I
Yeah.
think so. I think that's that's blockbuster. Honestly,
It could be.
That's
It could
what-
be. It could be.
Okay.
It's got
but
potential.
there's some good games coming up.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think New England Chicago is going to be subtle fireworks, only because of the rivalry. It's derby matchup, and
Listen,
I
if
think
Shaqiri scores a
Chicago will build on
banger,
it.
I might have to take back the Rigoni trade. But like, I mean, right now we're looking kind of clear. Let me go down to Chicago. I'll give him a call. Like we'll see what we can do. That sounds like something in the works there.
Yeah. We'll see. I guess the boys will make it happen. All right, man. Well, look, if no one has any other picks, man, I think it's going to be Red Bulls against Inter Miami. I think that's going to be one that everybody should be tuning into, not just because it's Inter Miami and those Messi and company, but I think Red Bulls looking better and better week over week, minus the Columbus result, because again, Wilfred Nancy boys are built different. All right, boys. Well, I think that's it. That's the video for today. So let's go ahead and wrap it there. If you made it to this far in the video, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We do these prediction videos every single week. We do mix in a ton of other content as well. And from everybody here at Wake Up MLS, my name's Jose. That's John. That's Ednan. That's AJ. We'll catch you guys next time.